She smiled. She walked straight into the lion's den, and she looked Rhea Ripley dead in the eyes and didn't flinch. Welcome to Suplex Rumble. And today we are breaking down one of the most electric moments in women's wrestling right now. What is going on, Suplex Rumble Nation? If you are new here, welcome to the most passionate wrestling analysis channel on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button and hit the bell, because we are not slowing down. And if you've been rocking with us, you already knew we had to cover this one. Because folks, what we witnessed recently in the world of WWE women's wrestling is the kind of storyline that reminds you exactly why you fell in love with this business in the first place. Bayley, the role model, the former multi-time champion, the woman who has literally done it all in WWE, walked up to Rhea Ripley, one of the most physically dominant, psychologically terrifying, and legitimately cool superstars on the entire roster, and essentially said, "I want that smoke." Today we're breaking this down from every angle. The strategy, the psychology, the risk, the reward, the potential outcomes, and most importantly what this means for the future of the women's division. Let's set the stage, because context is everything in professional wrestling storytelling. Rhea Ripley is, without exaggeration, operating on a level that very few superstars, male or female, have reached in recent memory. She carries herself with an aura that you simply cannot manufacture. It's not just the look, though that is absolutely intimidating. It's not just the in-ring ability, though she is legitimately one of the best big match performers in the entire company. It's the totality of who Rhea Ripley is as a character. She is cool. She is dangerous. And most importantly, she believes in herself on a frequency that most people can't even tune into. She commands respect not by asking for it but by making it physically impossible to deny her. And here's where I need you to really appreciate the genius of this moment, because I think some people might look at this on the surface and go, okay, Bayley is challenging Rhea, cool, but there is so much more happening underneath the surface. Bayley is not a newcomer. She is not a mid-card talent looking for a rub. She is not someone who stumbled into this moment by accident. Bayley is a generational talent. A woman who came up through the ranks, who reinvented herself completely, who became one of the most compelling characters in WWE storytelling across the better part of a decade. The role model era of Bayley completely transformed how people saw her. She went from the most beloved babyface in NXT history to a manipulative, cunning, brilliantly self-aware heel who made you love to hate her, and then, as only the truly great ones can do, she transitioned back to fan favorite in a way that felt completely earned. So when Bayley steps up to Rhea Ripley, this isn't David versus Goliath. This is lion versus lion, and that is what makes it so compelling. Let's talk about the challenge itself and what made it so captivating to watch unfold. There's a specific kind of courage that we see in professional wrestling that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's the courage of the character within the story. When a superstar makes the decision to step up and challenge someone who has been positioned as nearly unstoppable, the audience is immediately doing a calculation in their head. Do I believe this person can win? And even more importantly, do I believe this person is crazy enough to try? With Bayley, both answers are yes. And that's rare. Because here's the thing about the role model: she has receipts. She has championship reigns. She has show-stealing matches. She has carried storylines on her back. She has the kind of resume that gives her every right to stand across from Rhea Ripley and say, "I belong in this conversation." But it's not just the accolades that sell the moment. It's the attitude. The way Bayley approaches this challenge tells you everything about where she is as a character right now. There's a quiet confidence to her, almost like she has done the math and she likes her chances. She's not reckless. She's not desperate. She's calculated. She's intentional. And that, Suplex Rumble Nation, is the mark of a master storyteller working at the absolute peak of her powers. The smirk, the posture, the deliberate way she stepped into Rhea's space without flinching. Every detail was perfect. It was a superstar saying without saying a single word, "I have been here before, and I am not afraid of you." Rhea Ripley's reaction? Equally brilliant. Because Rhea didn't immediately explode. She didn't panic. She studied Bayley for a moment. And in that pause, in that brief, electric silence, an entire rivalry was born. Okay, this is the segment I've been waiting to get to, because this is where things get really interesting. Great wrestling rivalries are built on contrast and conflict. Not just physical contrast though that matters, but philosophical, emotional, and character-driven contrast. The best feuds tell us something true about both people involved. They create a situation where both superstars are forced to either evolve or break under pressure. So what does a Bayley versus Rhea Ripley rivalry actually mean on a deeper level? On one side you have Rhea Ripley, the embodiment of raw power, unbothered confidence, and a take-no-prisoners approach to everything she does. Rhea doesn't perform dominance. She lives it. She wears it on her skin. She is someone who has genuinely convinced the audience and perhaps herself that she is simply built differently. On the other side, you have Bayley, the embodiment of reinvention, resilience, and the power of experience. Bayley represents something incredibly important in wrestling, the idea that the journey shapes you, and that a person who has fallen, rebuilt, and come back stronger is more dangerous than someone who has never been tested. Think about what each woman represents to the audience. Rhea says, I am unstoppable. I am the standard. Come find out. Bayley says, I have been counted out before. I have been underestimated before. And every single time I proved everyone wrong. That is your rivalry. That is your story. Youth and overwhelming force versus wisdom, grit, and the quiet fire of someone with absolutely nothing to lose and everything to prove. And here's what makes it even more compelling from a storytelling standpoint. Bayley is one of the few women on the roster who can credibly be positioned as someone who could outthink Rhea Ripley even if she can't necessarily outpower her. The role model lives in the psychological game. She is a chess player in a world full of checkers players. And against someone as physically formidable as Rhea, that mental dimension could be the great equalizer. This is the kind of storytelling that elevates the entire division. Let's talk stakes, because in professional wrestling, stakes are everything. Championship gold is always the most obvious answer, and rightfully so. A title brings prestige, legitimacy, and a reason for every single segment to matter. If this rivalry is building toward a championship match, that adds a layer of urgency and importance that amplifies every interaction between these two women. But I want to argue that even beyond a title, even if we're talking about pure pride and supremacy, this storyline has stakes that feel genuinely personal. And personal stakes, when executed correctly, create the most emotionally resonant moments in all of wrestling. For Bayley, this isn't just about a championship. This is about proving that she belongs in the conversation with the elite, with the very best the women's division has to offer right now. This is about a woman who has reinvented herself multiple times, who has earned the admiration of the fans through years of incredible work, standing up and saying, my best days are not behind me. I am not here for nostalgia. I am here to compete at the highest level. For Rhea, this is about defending her identity. Rhea Ripley's entire character is built on the premise that she is on a level no one else can reach. When someone as credible and as decorated as Bayley steps up and challenges that premise, Rhea must respond. Because if she doesn't respond convincingly, the armor starts to crack. The mystique begins to fade. And for a character like Rhea, the mystique is half the battle. So both women need this. Both women have something real to fight for. And that the mutual necessity of the conflict is what separates a great storyline from a forgettable one. I want to take a moment to talk about you, the fans, because the audience reaction to this development has been absolutely electric, and it deserves acknowledgement. The response from the wrestling community has been overwhelmingly enthusiastic, and I think that tells us something incredibly important. It tells us that the fans are hungry for women's wrestling stories that feel big, stories that feel important, stories that are given the time, the attention, and the creative investment that they deserve. When Bayley stepped to Rhea, the internet lit up. Social media was buzzing. Discussion threads were overflowing. And the reason for that, beyond just the star power involved, is that this feels real. It feels like a meaningful moment in an ongoing, larger narrative. It feels like something that matters. And that reaction should tell WWE everything they need to know about how much the audience is invested in these two superstars and in this potential story. The people are not just casually interested. They are locked in. They want to see where this goes. They want the matches. They want the promos. They want the drama. As wrestling fans, we vote with our reactions. And right now, the vote is unanimous. Give us this story. Give us this rivalry. Give it the stage it deserves. Because when the fans are this engaged before the first match has even been announced, you are already doing something right. Alright, let's put on our fantasy booking hats for a second, because this is where Suplex Rumble Nation gets to have some real fun. If this rivalry progresses to a match, or better yet, a series of matches, what are the scenarios and outcomes that make the most sense from a storytelling perspective? Scenario 1: Rhea wins decisively. This is the path that preserves Rhea's dominance while simultaneously giving Bayley something to chase. A hard-fought loss, one where Bayley takes Rhea further than anyone expected, actually elevates Bayley even in defeat and sets up a rematch that the audience is desperate to see.